the mortgage industry and the covered bond industry is trying to ask himself what is the role of our federation, the European Mortgage Federation and the European Covered Bond Council in the discussion on energy efficiency and green mortgages. Till a couple of years ago was just a philosophical question, but I think that the market moved quite quickly, and we have seen a first kind of green covered bonds arriving to the market, and we have a lot of potentiality in this new product, and several issuers are looking at this option on the table. On what are the challenges for the industry? What does it mean green in Europe, which is different from what does it mean green in emerging countries, for example? And how an efficient financial tool can support the energy efficiency of the European Union. The United Nations, working together with the European Commission, published a report on the energy efficiency.
Clearly, Netherlands is one of the countries where it took place, not so much on the issuer side initially, but more on the investor side. When we go to see issuer tell you should issue green bond, one of the reasons is actually the Dutch investor base. So that's very good to be here today. Clearly, the green bond market is a hot topic right now. The market has tripled between 2012 and 2013, between 4 and 13 billion of issuance, and tripled again last year between 12 billion and 36 billion between 2013 and 2014. So tripling each year is a good trend. And so maybe we'll make it again this year, not sure, but maybe we'll make it again. And what is also quite interesting is that the green bond market is basically penetrating in all bond markets. I mean, we started with the SSA space, obviously, with the World Bank and the EIB and the like, the agencies, and we went to the local communities market, and we are, by the way, on the road right now is Région Île-de-France, just some advertising. Then we went to corporates. Large corporates did green bonds back in 2013 and a lot last year. And we started to touch the covered bond market last year with Münchner Hub, and clearly this is one of the market where there's a lot of potential, and I think this is the right moment to discuss this.
Yeah, green bond's actually quite a normal bond, although it's financing very clearly earmarked projects, and that's on the asset side. It should focus on the direct environmental and social benefit. So it goes also a little bit further than only environmental or green. So also the social aspect is quite important. So how does it work? I think issuers can issue a green bond using their regular documentation in most cases, with some slight changes. In final terms, there needs to be quite a clear description on what the green character of the bond is. So an overview of the sustainable purposes, describing what the proceeds, how the proceeds of the bonds are used for which kind of projects. Yeah, some examples are, for example, investments in renewable energy. That's a very obvious one, but an important one is also energy efficiency in housing, machinery. It can also go in the direction of infrastructure, waste, clean water, all these kind of elements, but also social projects.
It is a normal instrument, and I pay attention to the green aspect of this instrument. When we look at those bonds, we first look at the issuer. Is the issuer eligible to our portfolios? The use of the proceeds of the bonds. We have to be able to measure the impact of those bonds. It has to be material. It has to be measurable, and we need to have reports of the performance of those projects in the maturity of the bonds. Green bonds. Given that there's a specific demand for those bonds, could come more expensive because there are some specific investors willing to buy those bonds, and issuers could benefit from that. We have some kind of an option, in fact. If we invest in sustainable bonds, because we think we have to protect ourselves against some kind of long-term risk I mentioned on global warming, water scarcity, whatever. We are taking into account some externalities. And those are not priced in the bonds. But over the long term, maybe a green or greenish portfolio will be protected against those risks. And in that case, buying green bonds at the same yield level as a non-green bonds, you have some kind of a free option on the materialization of ESG risk over the long term.
To put it in context with the covered bond market, I think we're talking about volumes of 25% of annual issuance in the euro covered bond market, so we cannot just close our eyes and say there is plenty of investors out there that have a strong preference for green and socially responsible standards, meaning additional comfort. You called it externalities, with every right to do so. And then there's others who are kind of indifferent, who just play the game of arbitrage, and they might be buying dollars today or green tomorrow. And, potential covered bond issuers so far is a VIP member club, to be quite frank. I think it makes no sense to talk about green and comfort with socially responsible criteria unless you are a top quality issuer. As a single A covered bond issuer, don't bother. Basically, that would be my quick comment. You don't get compensated for it. Basically, I think that was about the point you made, Joop, initially. Of course, you can do the work, and let's say for your stakeholders, surely it will be appreciated. But let's say if you try to find the right balance between being compensated for your efforts and also to positively differentiate yourself from your peer group of issuers, for example, I don't think you will get the full benefit of it.
I like the connection between sustainability on the one hand and covered bond, our product, on the other hand. And I think these two are a good fit. I'm strongly of the opinion that it makes no sense for an issuer, financial issuer, to issue a green bond and have no reasonable ESG concept in place in their bank. So first, do your homework. Are you sustainable with what you are doing all the time? Care for your ratings, your sustainability ratings, and then you can go to the market from my point of view. But I think if there comes the first real green covered bond, there should be a link to the properties in the end, and that means for me it should be the financing of green buildings.
We have now this obligation to have labels, what specialists call EPC Energy Performance Certificates, which is a label, a colored label with a grade from A to G or H. It's not the same in all countries of Europe. We have this data captured in the database, and we can try to estimate what we call the green value of assets, which means the impact of energy efficiency on the value of the asset. European policy goals in terms of energy efficiency. There are three objectives. One is to reduce the total energy consumption. Another one is to reduce greenhouse gas emission. And the third one is to increase the share of renewable energy. So we have to work, and to work hard on the existing stock. And of course, here is a problem. How will you force or incite owners of existing buildings to make the retrofit enough investment in the old buildings to make them efficient?
You have to bear in mind that in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, real estate represents 25% of entire greenhouse gas emissions, the first sector being transportation. So if we want to have an impact on the green performance of the country, of Europe, housing sector is key, is paramount. And covered bonds probably being a sustainable product linked to mortgages. It has to, well, we have to, there must be a connection here.
How do we define this green mortgage, or how do we define this green real estate infrastructure?
So I think that's maybe something for the future, where banks can work together with these kind of companies, installation companies, energy companies to provide a solution. Not sure if that's a covered bond solution or securitization or anything else, but I think that's probably one way to look at the existing house.
From our point of view, how would a green covered bond look like from the view of a commercial real estate lender? It would be collateralized with green buildings, of course, and green buildings would probably be such buildings that have a certain certification on them. This certification should, in the first place, make some clear comments on the energy efficiency of that building, but also on other aspects, such as you could think of water efficiency, you could think of social standards, you could think of rights of the tenants or anything else. A green building should also not host maybe the production of controversial industries or something like this. That would be probably something that sustainable investors wouldn't like too much, and for us as the financer of such a building, it would bear a reputational risk in the end to finance something like this. Far easier to speak of a green covered bond in terms of commercial real estate, given these certificates that exist, than in the residential real estate market.
But I think it's probably throughout Europe that not every house already has this label, and as a regulation also has to be included now in every legislation, every European country. So this, even when building new houses, these houses need to be energy efficient or energy neutral actually in 2020, and also perhaps find some common ground in Europe. So that's maybe for the ECBC a nice one to jump in and make a working group on that.
Some issuer ask, in addition to this label, a second party or third party to review what type of asset they will finance with their green bond, and to certify basically that those assets are useful for the energy transition. And